Okay. Well, I'll call this meeting to order. This is the Economic Development and Housing Commission meeting of July 21st, 2020. Pursuant to the governor's executive order N-2920, members of the West Sacramento Economic Development and Housing Commission and staff will participate in this meeting via teleconference. To reduce the spread of COVID-19, members of the public are asked to watch the meeting on Wave Cable Channel 20 or live stream on the city's website on the Housing Commission page and submit comments in writing by 5 p.m. today, July 21st. To submit a comment in writing, please email Ashley B, at cityofwestsacramento.org and write public comment in the subject line. In the body of the email, include the item number and or title of the item as well as your comments. All comments received by 5 p.m. will be provided to the commission and posted on the website. The comments submitted shall become part of the record of the meeting. With that said, we'll move on to general administrative functions. Are there any comments from the public on items not on the agenda?
There were no comments from the public.
Moving on to the consent agenda. Consideration of approval of the January 22nd, 2020 Economic Development and Housing Commission meeting minutes. Can I have a motion, please?
Hi, this is Nicole DiCamillo. I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from January 22nd.
Commissioner DiCamillo makes a motion. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Okay.
Made the second?
Dan Olson, I second that.
Okay, Commissioner Olson made a second. Ashley, will you poll the commission, please? Can I have?
Yes.
Can I have a vote? And Ashley, will you?
Yes. Commissioner DiCamillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Olson?
Yes.
Commissioner Matter?
Yes.
Commissioner Bell?
Yes.
Commissioner Kehoe?
Yes.
And is Commissioner Reifman on?
Yeah.
I am.
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Chair Price?
Yes.
Thank you.
And me, Chris White, I say yes
I'm
to.
so sorry. Commissioner White. Thank
Okay, you got them all?
That's it.
Okay. Moving on to regular agenda, item number 3. Katie, are you going to make this introduction?
I'm just going to turn it over to Diane.
Oh, Diane.
Good evening, Chairman Price and members of the Commission. It's my pleasure tonight to be here to present the Chamber's annual report and to introduce Denise Domke with the West Sacramento Chamber, the CEO of the West Sacramento Chamber. We connected very, very early on when the public health orders were first issued. I think it was March 16th or March 17th, and we have not stopped since. We immediately called each other and began brainstorming on, oh my gosh, what do we do? As you know, many of you know, I've been in the economic development field for many years. We've been assisting businesses for many years, but we never had to face all the businesses suddenly needing assistance at the same time. So it was really, really a crisis for us. And I'm so grateful and thankful that I was able to reach out to Denise and her team at the Chamber, because I think that is a unique relationship in the region. We have a very strong partnership. We know the business community together, and it has been just nonstop since March 16th, just nonstop coordination and working, you know, every day, every moment to make sure that we had every resource available as soon as it came out. And the reason you haven't seen a lot of emails from the city directly is we didn't want to overwhelm businesses with a lot of emails from both the city and the chamber. So we actually directed that the chamber, being as nimble as they are the lead in providing those initial communications to the business community. So with that, I would just like to go ahead and introduce Ms. Domke, CEO of the West Sacramento Chamber, and she may have some remarks for you.
Thank you, Diane. Thank you, Chairperson Price and commissioners. It is really lovely to see you guys. It's good work that we've been doing, and we do it knowing that we have the full support of this commission and your commitment as well to the success and stability of business in our community. I'm assuming that, and still, I'm probably not going to read you what you have in front of you. I'm going to assume that you've had a chance to review it all. Touch on a couple of high points, and then I am more than happy to answer any and all questions that you have. Questions that you may have heard from your neighbors, questions that you may have heard from other businesses. I'll start, and in fact, if you'll, raise your hand, which is that little icon across the bottom, then I won't overlook anyone in the course of this presentation. Diane is not exaggerating. The governor issued his shelter in place and shut down business for the most part, except for essential businesses, on the 16th of March. We spoke on the 16th of March, and we met with the Economic Development and Housing Department representative on the 18th of March. 2 weeks later, on March the 24th, we had a full-scale survey out to the business license holders in our community, both checking on a baseline, but also through some really clever design. We were able to offer resources as options to questions in the survey. We had a great response. We also began almost immediately power hours reaching out into the community. Let me back up just a minute. So in that first 3 weeks, Diane, probably 3 weeks, you think? Things were coming fast and furious. No one knew what hospitals were available. No one knew where to get emergency care. No one knew what was happening with grocery stores. So there was that, in Maslow's hierarchy of need, we were right down here with just the basic of it. And the chamber team, and there are 3 of us, and the Economic Development Housing team, and there are 2 of them, so 5 of us started. I think we started most mornings with a call. Usually Diana and I were on the phone together by 7 o'clock in the morning. We had our team together on Zoom calls by 9 o'clock in the morning, and Diana and I ended usually around 8:30 or 9 o'clock texting and calling each other because the need was immediate. We needed to be agile, and the collaboration that we developed, that the chamber and the city's economic development department had developed over the years, enabled us to move very quickly. So an immediate concern for us were restaurants. And immediate recognition for us was the importance that restaurants play in the fiber and the culture and the community of a community, right? The place you go to gather, and how vulnerable they were. We, this team of 5 put together a flexible and adaptable restaurant list. We contacted all of the restaurants that were on the city's business license list, got them both up on our website, on the city's website, and out in social media. Because what we know in West Sacramento is what maybe the best way that our residents communicate with each other is through social media. And shout out now, and like 6 times through this, to to Paul Hosley and his public information officer, the PIO team. We would tag each other. They were working social media like I've never seen it worked, tagging each other and sharing and posting. And most of our posts were averaging 15 between the two sites, just on Facebook, 1,500 to 2,000 hits. So the community wanted to know, they were paying attention, and it just continued like that. So that, and I recognize that I shifted immediately into the COVID response. There were 6 months of this contract that wasn't about COVID. It was about visiting new businesses that were coming, and they're listed in your report. And as we get into this, at the end of this, if you have questions about those businesses and their current status, I know Diana and I can both address that with you. So beginning with surveys, we set a goal. We had 3 surveys. We put up 3 big surveys in 90 days. And that they, baseline. And then in April, we needed to know, we decided we needed to know, were businesses taking advantage? What was the percentage that were participating in PPP loans? Who had an EIDL loan? Did they understand it? Could we answer questions for them? And so that was the base of the April survey. And then the most recent one in June, we were interested in a status. So and this was before we partially shut down again, but where were employees? What was your viability? What was your count? How many of those employees had health care? We worked together almost from the beginning also on the business outreach list, which is pulled out of the business license list. Providing your email is not at this point, although there will be folks lobbying for this to change, is not part of the business license application. So we took what we had, we worked our side. We had contacts that maybe the city didn't have with our members, because they have to have emails with us. We ended up with about 3,600 emails, and use that tool really effectively. The reason you'll see the majority of that communication, especially early on coming through the chamber, is that we have the platforms in place already to do large mass mailings quickly. And many of these required quick action. But also referring people back to specifics on the city's business license business tab on the website to answer specific questions and direct people to the best help. Power Hours started April the 8th. Power Hours Let's Talk were opportunities. So all of this outreach, this is the entire business license list and out into the community. So twice a week to begin, we just got people together. We invited them to a Zoom conversation just to touch bases, to allow them to talk, to allow us to answer any questions that they might have. Hi, Elijah, the other Dynamo team member of Economic Development and Housing Department. And we did open forums. We did industry specific, manufacturing, restaurants 2 or 3 times, restaurants, outdoor dining. We offered opportunities for them to talk with the district directors of the SBDC to answer their questions directly, especially when we were in the thick of, oh my God, how am I gonna get a PPP loan? And then 6 weeks later, I got a loan and I don't have any employees, and it's gonna run out in 8 weeks. So we help connect them to people with the county, with the city, and with the Small Business Administration to provide resources for them. And we had a group with gyms and fitness centers, and we'll have another Power Hour on the 29th. The restaurant group is interested in meeting periodically and across the board, especially as they're trying to maneuver through changes. So restaurants will be back on board on the 29th. We worked with the city and provided a business resource seminar on June the 10th, providing not a sales pitch, but providing resources and information about how to take your business online, how to up-level your online presence, the path of least resistance to get that happening. And I think if you've checked out menus for most restaurants online, you'll see that they've greatly improved their presence. So that's a win. And then questions around outdoor dining and what that might look like and how could we help with that. The chamber was just a conduit of information for that. That was some yeoman work, the economic development team, to get those guidelines in place and then to present them to businesses to help answer the questions. And then there's support dreams. So gosh, Diane, I can't even remember. We started Westac Takeout probably the first part of May. And through all of our platforms, through the city's platforms, local elected and local leaders in the community, filming videos at some of their favorite restaurants, sharing back and forth. It is a very popular hashtag and promotion for the restaurants in West Sacramento. And if they're takeout, if they're, you have to DoorDash, how that might look. And we're next week gonna revisit Westac Takeout as a portion of Support Dreams. Support Dreams is an overarching shop local, think local campaign. Hopefully you've seen signs, if you want a sign, let me know. You've seen banners, we have lawn signs, and it's a program that will run for 6 months. So this program is, and shout out to Chris White, because she actually helped us design a portion of how we're going to roll out the first 3 months, and then now we're developing how we're going to roll out the second 3 months. Our intention is that this program, that Shop Local, runs through the holiday season, through the time when we're encouraging people to think about options here in West Sacramento. Videos, we've done some seasonal focus messaging. And then there were masks. There were a lot of masks. We had an opportunity that the business community in West Sacramento had an opportunity that was presented to us through Yolo County. State of California bought masks and distributed them through the counties. Counties had a warehouse full of boxes of reusable masks for businesses. So in a matter of, gosh, I don't remember when we got those masks, but I can tell you that the last one the chamber distributed went out the door on June the 26th. In a period of 10 days, Economic Development and the Chamber of Commerce distributed 42,000 masks to businesses. Can we have a moment for that? 42,000 masks. And they went, there was a call out to the business license list again, to all the businesses. They contacted the chamber, we scheduled appointments, and when we moved them out. The good news is that there are still some masks available through the Economic Development Department, and Elijah and Diane have been busy getting those out the door. But I feel pretty comfortable we filled a big need there. And that's kind of the COVID story in a nutshell. I'll tell you that prior to COVID, KDJ and Diane and myself met once a month. We talked about opportunities to outreach to business. We updated each other on, opportunities that we were hearing both in the business community and on the city side. And we continue that. The chamber team and the economic development team start our Mondays at 9 o'clock talking to each other on a Zoom. What are we doing? Are there any fires that need to get put out? What do you hear? And what's the next thing we can do to help business? And I anticipate, Diane, I'm thinking we'll be doing this at least through the first of the year and probably even longer as things are turning out. Another example of the agility of this team and our ability to work together collaboratively is that we've been able to turn on a dime because of this list that we've developed and access to it. So if city council votes that there's going to be a curfew in our community at 6 o'clock that starts at 7 o'clock, always with permission, but with permission from the city, then we're able to get that information. We had 3,600 businesses notified of the curfew in 45 minutes. That was, and that's part of what Diane, I think, is talking about. And I'll end my comments here and take any questions that you have. That we do a lot of work in the county. We know, chambers in the county. We're involved with the county. We're involved in the region. In the Chamber of Commerce, in our Chamber of Commerce in West Sacramento, 30% of our members are not physically located in West Sacramento. But they want to know what's happening with business here. They know what the best way to stay in the loop about the cool side of the river is to belong to the Chamber of Commerce. As a result, we have a lot of exposure to other membership-based organizations and other economic development resources in the region. This is an amazing relationship. We have been incredibly effective. And Diane's even smiling. I mean, it's just like, it's been mind-boggling. Everyone was on the same page, rowing in the same direction, knew that we had to move quickly. We continue to move quickly and with a commitment to help our businesses because it's brutal. The truth of it is that while we had some stability at the first part of this shutdown, this second shutdown, we're getting notices of businesses that are closing. And at the end of the first month, I remember a celebration when there'd been a whole week and none of the 5 of us had a business owner cry on the phone with us. I mean, these are people's dreams. This is people's passion. We're lucky in that we have a diversity of business here. It's a powerful thing, I would say. And I'll end with that. We're lucky that we have the team we have on the city side to work with because all of us really care. So that wasn't very perky, but questions?
Well, before I turn it over to the commissioners, it was your last few comments rather grim.
I was trying not to get emotional. I've had a whole day with no tears on my part, so.
I understand that completely. Do you have a crystal ball? And you're saying that your efforts will probably go into the first of the year?
Well,
what's the first of the year going to look like? I mean, from a business, we'll be in recovery, we'll be digging out of this hole. Give me your thoughts, please.
So my personal thoughts are that until we're able to statistically demonstrate the ability to curb the spread of this virus, and Yolo County's numbers have been going through the roof, and West Sacramento is especially vulnerable, as the mayor indicated, because we have this porous border. And we are by design, we have a movement, an economic movement between the two, but that's a challenge right now. And I honestly believe, my personal opinion is we're not going to see big movement until we have a vaccine. And in the meantime, what we know about both the city of West Sacramento and its business community is we will think out of the box. We will find another way. We're having a conversation now, about gosh, Katie, don't tell anyone because we haven't broken the news to the police department yet, but we're thinking that the tree lighting could very well be where the participants stand still and people move by in cars. And I'm talking families come through in cars. I'm talking with one of our partners that can do like a radio program that you tune into as you drive by. Santa's 110 years old. Our Santa is anyway, so he won't be having probably a lot of hugs, but that's kind of an example. The chamber right now is doing, and the power hours, the webinars that we've had in conjunction with the city, they've been really well attended. And the chamber is developing opportunities for, like lunch and learn, Zoom opportunities, and networking opportunities that involve breaking off into small groups, kind of like speed dating, but not. So I'm told. I really don't know. I know that we'll adapt, but I know that the landscape of our business community is going to look different.
Thank you. Commissioner Olson, you have a comment or a question?
I do have a question. Do you know what % of people that applied for the PPP loans in West Sacramento got approved for them?
At one point, Diane, in that survey, did we decide 30%?
I do have some numbers on that in my presentation, and it is about 50% of them applied, and it's the survey sample, so it's not, I don't want to emphasize it too much, but 50% applied and 31% as of the second survey time, which was May 14th, had received a positive response, 31%, and about 15% had not heard yet at that time.
Is that 31% of the 50% that applied, or 31% of total business?
It was 31% of the respondents.
Okay.
So it would, yeah, we didn't.
So around 15% of the businesses got it.
You know what? That's really hard to judge. I reviewed the SBDC, the SBA report on the triple P. The guys I was pleased that our representation on the like $1 million to $2 million and 3 to 5. So several of our big manufacturers were able to take advantage of that. Several of our restaurants were able to take advantage of it. But at this point, it's not been easy to get that information out of Treasury.
Okay, how many businesses have closed since March 18th in West Sacramento? Do we know that?
We won't have
actually tell you that.
Yeah, we won't have an accurate count of that until it's time for them to renew their business licenses, right?
Okay.
That's
Right.
the best. But I can tell you that I can't tell you specifically who they are because I don't know that it is public knowledge. But I can tell you that today's Tuesday and I've heard of 2 this week already. And I suspect that depending on what happens, it'll increase through the end of the year.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other commissioners have a question? Well,
I guess I have another one then.
okay, Commissioner Olson.
Have you found from talking with so many business owners over these last few months that business licenses and all of the things that are required to get a business up and going and running, has that been an easier process since March 18th or a more difficult process or the same?
So this is a chamber opinion. The city has been committed and has been working on the business license process for several years now. There was one big shift where, and they were, as I understand it, there's been conversation about taking a look at how business licenses are processed even more effectively moving forward. So everything was put on hold right now. I don't know. Diane would have to answer the question about how many business licenses we've received, but I look forward to the day when the application process and the data collection process is more efficient than it is now, which is not staff. It's the platform and the cost of an, it's the platform that it's in.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, commissioners? Well, it looks like you've given a wonderful presentation. I read the resolution, the finance side of it, your contract's extended for another year, correct?
The base contract is extended through another year. That's
For
correct.
$50,000. The work you've been doing, an amendment was added for $10,000, correct?
Yes, as it relates to the Support Dreams,
Right,
the Shop
right.
Local program, that 6-month program. The work that we've been doing, the majority of the work that we've been doing was a modification. That amendment modified some of the processes in the original contract that we're not able to do and are not the best use, in my opinion, of the city's money.
So the resolution is not to exceed 70,000. So there's a $10,000 delta there that is for any future possibilities, budget overage. I mean, it's a not to exceed figure, so.
Diane, go ahead.
Diane.
I'm happy to address that. The other $10,000 is actually for the home run program, and that's in the existing contract that has not been extended. That portion has not been extended beyond October of 2020. The additional $10,000 that's going through this end of this calendar year is actually for Support Dreams and for COVID business response services. So the total for economic development is $60,000, but the additional $10,000 that brings it to 70 is actually $10,000 for the home run, for the chamber to assist the home run program with getting internships with local businesses.
Great, thank you for that explanation. There being no further comments, can I ask for a motion to move this to City Council?
I'd like to make a motion for this to move forward to City Council.
Thank you, Commissioner Bell. Can I have a second, please?
I second that.
Commissioner Olson? Thank you. Clerk, will you, I'll ask for a vote, and will you poll the commissioners, please?
Yes. Chairperson Price,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson White,
Yes.
Commissioner Bell,
Yes.
Commissioner DiCamillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Kehoe,
Yes.
Commissioner Matter,
Yes.
Commissioner Olson,
Yes.
and alternate Commissioner Reisman.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And thank you again for all the hard work you do at the chamber. It's appreciated. This is a difficult time. And yeah, I understand people's hopes and dreams and their income. It's a new world, and this is a tough time. Thank you for your presentation and your hard work.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
And thank you for answering my questions. I know they were not related to extending the contract, but I just wanted to get kind of a heads up on.
Oh, no, happy to. And you know how to get me. All of you are welcome to reach out. All of you are welcome anytime. Reach out to me at the chamber. Call the chamber. We're happy to help.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have her cell number too.
Yes, she does.
Okay, moving on to
Hey, Ron.
who is that? Who's speaking?
This is Peggy. Hey,
Peggy, yes.
I just wanted to say that, Denise, what you laid out and what you, Diane, and Katie have accomplished, and your other group at the chamber. You guys sounded like triage nurses trying to keep the heartbeat of our economic business thriving for our city and our business owners. And I just wanted to say, hats off to you ladies. Thank you very much for all of your hard work.
Thank
Yes.
you, Peggy. I appreciate that. I have to say also, and Elijah Ortega, who is split between housing and economic development. And Elijah, are you on the line? This guy has been busy. So yeah, there you are.
There he is.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Good work, guys.
thanks so much.
Okay, moving on to regular agenda item number 4. Who's going to do that presentation and introduction?
That's also Diane.
That is Diane, yes. And I just want to say that Elijah's been a very quick study. Can you see my screen now? Yes?
Yeah, we can see the PowerPoint.
I
Okay,
got
very
it.
good. Very good. Okay, so I guess I want to begin with sort of picking up on what Denise said about, as I was writing this report, I was feeling pretty good. I was feeling that we had made a difference, that we had provided resources to our businesses, and that we were going to be okay. And then on Monday the 13th, everything, began to change again. The governor announced more closures, and we knew the numbers were going up. And so, but I was feeling at that point, or right before then, I was feeling like, we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. Yes, it's going to be hard, and it's not over yet. But let's face it, they predicted a surge. We have the surge. And now we are somewhat going backward in terms of business closures. And that is going to be the double whammy, the whiplash that businesses really are not prepared for. They could survive a few months, but now it's going to go into that situation again. So this is going to be really challenging especially for the small businesses. One of the first calls we got was from the Denny's, and they said, boy, we can't make it. We're not going to stay open. We got another call from one of our new businesses, Applied Spectra, which Denise referenced in her report. And they're a headquarters company that moved here from the Bay Area, and they make laser ablation instruments, and they sell them internationally. And they were so confused by the regulations coming out that they said, we just closed our whole business. We didn't know what we could do. And so we just closed everything down, sent everybody home. And luckily, they knew me. I had contact with them. So I was able to explain to them. I got Josh Hurley on the line with them. And he said, no, they're an essential business. They're providing, these instruments to the government and to academic institutions. So this is the sort of confusion that was reigning in the early days of the governor's order and the public health orders that were coming out. So it was really just literally, like we said, it was triage. It was getting a call here and getting a call there. We had a lot of manufacturers that were not clear about whether they were essential or not. Applied Gem Windows was one. Hunter Douglas, we did get some layoff notices from Hunter Douglas. That's a consumer product, so their business was down, and they immediately laid off about 100 people on a temporary basis. So these are some of the things that happened early on. And at the same time, we just felt like it was so urgent. We literally thought we have to completely redo our website. We have to do all these things, and we could not do that. And so the first call I made was to the chamber, West Sacramento Chamber. The second call at her urging was to the Metro Chamber, the Sacramento Metro Chamber. And the Sacramento Metro Chamber, I don't know how they did this, but they literally stood up a website in a matter of days. Maybe it was a week, I don't know, but They literally created an entire COVID response website called the Business Resource Hub. And they worked with the California Asian Chamber, they worked with SBDC. And so they literally set this thing up, and it was a resource that we were actually directing businesses to. And we partnered with the Sacramento Chamber because we couldn't, I mean, there was no way with 1.5 staff people devoted to this that we could literally create a brand new website with all the resources and know what they all were. So we were assimilating a lot of data about the health orders, a lot of data about the resources that were out there from SBA. And it was absolutely essential that we partner with the West Sacramento Chamber and the Sacramento Chamber. So those were two very early actions that we took. We were getting warn notices from Yolo County, and we were responding to them at that point, going out or hearing about some of them. Some of them, like I said, were Hunter Douglas, the Ross store, La Mesa RV, one of our very, very large businesses here. They continued to operate, and there had to be some interaction with the city to kind of explain to them, this is what you're allowed to do, this is what you're not allowed to do. So there was a lot of response in terms of clarifying the orders and helping businesses to interpret what was going on, to help them navigate the situation. So, and then as we talked about briefly, one of the challenges we had, luckily we had a business license list from March that was pretty current, right? I mean, it was a recent list, but what we found out very quickly was businesses do not provide their email addresses, which is a critical communication flaw for us, right? The only way we were able to do that was we literally had to call, we had to email the entire list of businesses. And then what we found out too was that businesses don't have to notify the city when they close or when they move. So we had addresses and businesses on there that were no longer in the city. So this is what Denise is referring to when she said we had to do a lot of cleanup. We literally sent emails to all these businesses that were on the list, and then we started getting bounce backs, right? Oh, this business is no longer here. And so that's what the chamber really was instrumental in helping us do, because they did all that legwork. They were getting all the bounce backs, they were cleaning up the list. And we have a very good list now, but still a lot of businesses don't put their email addresses on. Why? Because they don't want to be inundated with emails, right, from people trying to sell them things. So that was one challenge that we had. And I wanted to just give you a couple of quick statistics here. Of the business license list, 1,600 of those businesses are locally domiciled, meaning they have a physical presence in West Sacramento. About 1,650 have a license here because they're required to, but they don't have a physical presence in the city of West Sacramento. They have a license here because they want to sell to companies and businesses in West Sacramento. Another 1,000 are home occupations, which is a pretty significant percentage. There's about another 800 or so that are in a state of flux at the time that the list is printed, and those are either they're in an active renewal status or they've been sent a renewal, but we haven't gotten it back yet. So there are 5,000 businesses licensed in the city of West Sacramento, but this is just a quick breakdown of what they look like. And then just my last point here is that the chamber is really focused on more of the small businesses, which we found out quickly were the most vulnerable. Those were the businesses that really needed help navigating and interpreting what was going on and really needed more hand-holding than some of the larger businesses that have, that are national companies or multinational companies where they just have a branch here. So staff was focusing more on our major employers, our key industry clusters, and some of our revenue generators. Frankly, there was some concerted outreach to businesses that really generate significant revenue to the city, and we needed to make sure that they knew what was going on, that we had relationships with them. So we talked about the surveys a little bit, and that was a collaborative process. There was a lot of work that went into that. And one of the chamber's first suggestions was, we need a baseline. We need to know exactly what's going on this month. And so we decided at their urging, let's do a 30, a 60, and a 90 day and check in. So we get a baseline at 30 days. We see what's happening in 60 days. And then this last one, which went out in June, had the poorest response. Not surprisingly, because by that time they were just, they were like, we're done with these emails. We're trying to survive. But I wanted to just give you a couple of quick snapshots of how business, the data that we got here. And we didn't get a great response. I mean, these are statistically valid. We did do an analysis. So we had about 200 respond to the first one. And as you can see, 70% of the businesses were still open. And then just going forward here, same thing. So has there been a change in your employee count? We were trying to get a handle on, what are the job losses looking like? And so as you can see here, a significant percentage, had immediately shed jobs. They were just like, we have to shed jobs. Our business is closed. Hold on, I need to move this out of the way. There we go. So one of the other things that we thought would be helpful is at the same time that we're providing, at the same time that we're providing, asking for their input, let's give them resources. So on these questions here about technical assistance, we actually included the SBDC and the SBA links, the local SBDC, and then our city contact information, as well as the chamber's contact information, so that they could immediately contact us right in the survey. And as you see here, a lot of them said, we need technical assistance, we need to access business resources, we need to contact other city departments, and then we also need to talk to other county, state, or federal agencies. We talked about the video chats. I thought this was brilliant, I have to tell you. We got really valuable information from the businesses that participated in these. And the reason for that is because we limited it to 20 people. And Denise is, she's a really good host. She knows how to get businesses to share information. And it was just, it felt safe. So businesses not only could talk about what was going on with them, they were sharing tips with one another about how they were handling it, whether they had applied for PPP. So those were really valuable. And I applaud the chamber for doing that. So Westac Takeout, the restaurants were struggling, and I thought this was a really great idea. They launched that April 29th. As of June 15th, they had reached over 56,000 users on social media. So that, I think, was instrumental in helping the restaurants out immediately when they had to be closed for dine-in. And of course, now we're in that situation again. Many of the restaurants told us, we cannot make it on takeout. It's 20 or 30% of our revenue, our volume. We're not going to be able to make it. So this closure right now, we hope and pray that it will not last too much longer. We hope those health numbers get better. We hope we can flatten the curve again, because I don't know how long they can survive with outdoor dining. So the second survey, you'll notice that less businesses are open here for sure. So it went down from 70% being opened in the first one to a little over 60% now. So they're definitely feeling the impact. Some of them had reopened, but not very many. So this is, again, the second survey at 60 days. We were pushing the SBA product really hard because a lot of businesses did not want a loan. They did not want debt. A lot of them can't afford debt service. And so they weren't doing it. They just weren't applying. And we had several sessions with the SBA and the SBDC and California Capital. And we had, I think Dustin Dumars, a local CPA on the phone. We had a couple other local businesses here that are in the business, in the banking world. And they helped demystify the SBA loan process. And so we had more people sign up. And at that point, it was getting to be urgent. They knew they needed to do something. They needed a little lifeline. So as you see here, quite a 50-50 applied for the triple P. I was pushing the economic injury disaster loan because it had the $10,000 advance. And a lot of businesses, I think, were confused about that, but that $10,000 advance, you didn't have to repay it. Now, it's not very much money, but a lot of people went for the triple P, and there was a lot of confusion over this. What part is forgivable, and what do I have to do for it to be forgivable? There was just a lot of confusion. So it was really helpful to have the SBDC and the California Capital folks on one of the power hours, I think 1 or 2 of them. And then as you see here, about 50% actually got funding. And this California program, most people didn't even know about it, even though we published it. And a lot of people got turned down because if you had an SBA loan, then you were not eligible to apply for the California Loan Guarantee Program. So June, and again, this is before the last closure. So this is optimistic. We had 70% open. We had a very small response, as you see here. And then some of them, though, had begun to rehire employees back, about 40% of the ones that responded. So they were using their triple P money. They were hiring people back because they had been allowed to reopen. The dine-in was reopened. And this was kind of, we started to see the light, the light at the end of the tunnel. And then, of course, early July, things changed again. So Support Dreams was launched May 22nd. And again, the numbers, the social media, Denise is right. That's how people get their information. So this is going to be critical. And we were one of the first jurisdictions to launch a Shop Local program. I mean, this came out of the gate May 22nd. I think it was before anybody else started this in the region. And just recently, the state of California started one. So I applaud, again, our chamber partners for, doing the right things at the right time and really funding this program with very little capital and through the sponsorships of the partners that you see there. Excuse me. So this last slide that I'll mention is just, we need to continue doing what we've been doing. As you see here, all these things that businesses cited as being important to their process right now, business planning, they need hiring services. We have Yolo County's employer services. They need capital assistance. They do want help with city permitting and licensing. And there's a pretty high indication too for the marketing your business online. A lot of businesses, especially the restaurants, do not have a great online presence. They may not even have a menu online. So this is, to me, further indication that we need to keep doing what we're doing. And those power hours and webinars that the chamber is going to do, they've already had one for marketing your business online. Those are going to be critical in these next few months. And with that, I will be happy to take questions or comments. I provided some information about our business profile. And the reason that I did that is just to show you, one of the challenges in economic development is we don't have a really good, reliable source of data, and we don't have good business contact lists unless we buy a CRM, a customer relationship management software program. And we're doing this with Excel, we're doing it with the business license. But for a small investment, and we're all in budget times are hard right now. And I know that we've all been asked to trim our budgets. We don't know what the future holds. But we need to be thinking about new tools. We need to be thinking about this business license list. We've got a good outreach list now, and it's getting better and better with the more outreach that the chamber and the city do. So we'll be continuing to refine that list. One of the challenges that we have, and it's in this economic profile, is we have a lot of small businesses that are unclassifiable by these data sources, by MZ and a lot of these data sources. And so that's why the chamber partnership and really getting into the community and really interacting with those smaller businesses to find out who they are, what they're doing, you know, what do they bring to our economy. And then the other just last point I want to bring out in this economic profile is that there's a chart in there of our location quotient. And if you notice, we have very low number of restaurants in terms of our population. So that's why I think, you know, we've really tried to emphasize the restaurants, really helping them with outdoor dining. You know, they are treasured. I mean, they are literally small businesses that have poured their heart and soul into these restaurants. And we will do everything we can to really support them right now. Takeout, and we're talking to the county about helping them with outdoor dining, with potentially some CARES Act money that has come to the county, because some of them cannot afford to buy. You may have noticed Carol's Restaurant now has sunshades out on their patio. Not every business can afford to do that right now, especially with cash flow being the way it is. So if we could get some assistance for restaurants with their outdoor dining equipment, I think that would be a big boon for them. Those that actually have a patio that they can actually do that. So I think I'll stop there, and you know, I'd love to hear from you. You know, tell us what you think we're doing right. Tell us what we can do better. If we've, you know, if there's some things that you think we should be doing that we're not, that's what we're here for.
Thank you, Diane. I think that your presentation was a definite compliment to the previous presentation. You kind of brought them both together, so to speak. Your efforts are admirable, and I hope you're getting email now from the business owners. But I have no questions. Again, I think your presentation complemented Denise's presentation. And commissioners, do you have any questions? Commissioner White, please.
Hi, Dan. I have one question about restaurants and now hair salons as well. And I'm thinking of particularly the restaurants and now hair salons that are in the parking lot of the formerly Big R Center, Goodwill, whatever we call it now. They really have no patio space. How do those businesses go about working with their landlord to block off parking spaces so they can move into the parking lot? Is that something that the city gets involved with? Does the city have any jurisdiction on that?
Are you talking about, excuse me, Country West on
Yes.
West Capitol? Yeah.
Yeah. Thinking like
So those-
Kickin' Mule and Serrano's and La Favorita and.
Mm-hmm. So we do have outdoor dining guidelines, and yes, I see that Commissioner Kehoe has some questions, so I'll be sure and call on you next, or the chair will call on you. Those are private parking lots. We do have a procedure for that. They do need to get their landlord's permission. That's the first thing, is they need to talk to their landlord about whether they're willing, you know, to let them use some of those parking spaces, but that's exactly what we want them to do. That's exactly why the outdoor dining process and the guidelines have been in place. They do need to get permission from the landlord. They do need to observe and get a TCA, a temporary catering authorization from ABC if they have liquor serving or, you know, alcohol. But that's exactly what we want them to do. That's exactly what they're going to need to do to increase their volume while the dine-in is closed. And we have an expedited process that Katie and I were able to get approved through our community development department. We're actually trying the first one right now. We actually have a restaurant that has applied to have one of these permits. and actually using a city street. So we'll see how that goes. It's the first one. But yeah, for those that are in a private shopping center or have private property, they will need their landlord's permission. And those
Okay,
guidelines, by the way.
pardon? I didn't hear your last statement.
The outdoor dining guidelines are on the city's business landing page. So when you go to the main page, if you click on business, it'll take you to the outdoor dining guidelines and the application.
Okay, anything else, Commissioner White? Commissioner Kehoe, please.
Thank you. And thank you very much for the presentation, Diane. It was very thorough and I appreciate that. Some of these questions aren't really related to each other. They're just thoughts that I had while you were presenting. I'm curious in any of the numbers in outreach in terms of 501c3s that are also operating in the city of West Sacramento. Did that come into any of your data or studies on their health or ability to continue functioning?
As a matter of fact, they are in the business license list. And I know that early on, they were not eligible for PPP and SBA loans, but then later they changed that and allowed nonprofits to be eligible. A C3 is like, that's a nonprofit, but not a membership organization, right? Is that
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
I'd have to look and see in our business license list how many of those. I don't have a number on those.
Yeah, that's okay. I was more just
Yeah.
curious about the density and if they were included in your outreach, just in general. And it sounds like they were, if they were, because they have to have a similar license to operate in the city of West Sacramento, right? So
That is correct.
Forgive me, but as Denise has left and as a board member on the Chamber of Commerce, I can tell you extensive outreach done specifically to our 501c3s, our churches, or the children's charities. Yes.
Excellent.
And they got a lot of masks too.
They did. And they
Good.
also had another funding program through the YOLO Community Foundation that was
Yes.
working directly with those. And then the West Sac Foundation, we just released our grants program this week.
Excellent. Oh, awesome. It wasn't highlighted specifically, so I thought I wanted to ask about it. Second, you briefly mentioned CARES Act funding from the county, and I'm wondering if you could elaborate a little bit on CARES Act funding, either that's coming to the city of West Sacramento or to Yolo County that might be used in other economic development efforts, apart from the one that you mentioned from Yolo County. Is there any other talk about using CARES Act money for economic development specifically?
Yes, although there is a considerable emphasis being placed on housing and housing assistance to those residents of West Sacramento that have been affected in that way. However, the latest current conversation is that around the restaurants, and that is, and this is very early on, and that's why I didn't put it in the report. We intend, we've made a request to the county, I think all the cities, all the chambers in the county. And additionally, we've gotten some direction that the city manager is potentially open to some local funds being augmenting the county CARES Act funding for restaurant outdoor dining. And that's a great question. It's been a source of angst for me not to have a financial assistance program for our businesses, as many cities do. But as you know, Sacramento got $89 million and we did not.
Yep.
And I guess I would ask on my director, Katie Jacobson, if you have anything to add to that.
The only revenue that we've received right now is the CDBG COVID focused or COVID programmed funding, which we went to council last week and are recommending that we and council agreed and approved that we're focused on housing of the at-risk homeless population. So that looks like how those funds are being directed. There's and beyond that, I don't believe that any other direct funding has come to us, but there may be in the future.
No, thank you very much for sharing that. I understand, the CARES Act funding is a bit precious and it's also finite. So I was more wanted to find out where you were at in the process. You brought up housing, which is interesting because that was my next question was actually about, which is, I just wanted to hear your take on the need for, I think we all recognize there will be a need for both commercial and residential mortgage and rent assistance above and beyond the way the state has put it. But um, I, I, as you've been putting together this report, has that risen in need versus the balance of the effort that you put out there, or is it? I just kind of want to hear your take on it. Does that make sense? That's a
yeah,
question.
absolutely.
Okay.
So, I mean, our department has been responsible for implementing the eviction moratorium, and our city put an eviction moratorium on commercial as well as residential. And so we've been very involved in that, and through that process have been discussing the idea of giving assistance as those payments still become due and payable at some point. And it was one of the things that we thought about in terms of our use of the CDBG COVID funds. So I think it's just an open area right now that we are analyzing and looking at how we might be able to do that in the future, but council has not approved that at this point in time.
And do you have a recommendation in place now, or is it still like in process of how you want to approach it and it's not fully baked yet?
I don't think there's any certainty that our city, as small as we are and as many resource needs as we have, that we will be able to actually assist renters and commercial leaseholders with payments. So I can't say that we have evolved a program of any kind at this point, but we recognize the need. We wish we could support it. And so we'll continue to explore it especially as we learn of any new funding sources. We have some funds in the city that could help, but again, we're looking at trying to maintain continuity of the housing of the homeless at-risk population, which has been up to about 100 individuals at times, roughly on average about 80, I think 70 to 80-ish. That's been primarily funded by the county. So we're looking at, okay, that is going to go away. And then what are we doing? So we are the state just released a NOFA, and the state's making funds available for purchasing motels. And so that is due August 18th or August 12th. That application is due, and then you have to have the motels acquired by the end of the year, by December. So we've got all hands on deck right now, trying to do due diligence on 6 motel properties.
Wow.
Negotiation, appraisals, phase ones, structural analysis. So I think that's really where we're directing our energy right now is there, still recognizing that we have a need in our community and that individuals are still, many individuals are still on the precipice. So good news is on housing, since I've got the floor right now, we did secure funding for phase 2 of West Gateway Place. And so that's another I think 80 units that we'll be building on West Cap next to West Gateway Place. Got the permanent supportive housing that's fully funded. It's under construction. That's, I believe, about 88 units for individuals that need some support. So I think we're doing a good job of trying to get actual facilities developed to house that. Then if we do this motel process, which we believe will be successful at, we don't know how many properties we'll be able to take down. It could be several, but then that would, be another source of transitional housing in our community.
Excellent. Thank you very much for detailing that. Sorry, my questions are all over the place. I only have 2 more, I promise. Last of the 2 here, Great Plates was a statewide program. They asked local jurisdictions to sort of use some state and federal money to fund restaurants feeding seniors. I'm curious if you know of anybody at the Yellow County level that had taken that on, if they were reaching out to you or the chamber here locally to implement that in West Sac.
So the Yolo County actually applied and became a administrator of that, and the RFP that went out had a very short time frame on it, and Yolo County could barely respond to it. We considered responding to it, but the program was so onerous, and the funding reimbursement was very questionable, and it required you to, and it was only literally like a 2-week program. And there was a lot of uncertainty related to the reimbursement. And so Yolo County took it on. I understand that there were 3 restaurants in West Sacramento that had applied and expressed interest, and I think were included in Yolo County's program as of the last report that I got. So we did have a coordination call with them, with the county, when they turned in their application.
Okay, great, thank you. And last but not least, what are some additional ways that commissioners could get involved? I think I feel a little isolated in my bubble here, over here in Broderick. Just kind of after hearing both the chamber's presentation and your presentation, what are some things that we could be doing if we have the time and the capacity?
I think that you can be more eyes and ears in town, since you all live in town. If you hear anything, if you hear of a business struggling, or you want to make an introduction to us of a business, or if you, I mean, you're our conduit to the community. So I wish that more businesses would call us, actually. Like, that was one of the challenges, is I think a lot of businesses in the community don't even know that we have an economic development department, honestly. Like, it surprises me. And we need to do a better job, right? We need to do a better job promoting and publishing the fact that we have a department that is dedicated to assisting our businesses and being their friend in City Hall. So that's another thing that, Elijah's been very instrumental in creating a constant contact email. So we now have that ability to do that. We've sent a few. We have the ability to email businesses, like that. And we're going to be doing another email actually about outdoor services for fitness centers and gyms and dining again, because we just feel like there's so much information out there that I think it gets lost in the shuffle. Businesses are trying to, assimilate all this data and information that's coming down at all different levels. So yeah, if you have friends, or you have people that in the community that either have a business here or want to have a business here, please feel free to make an introduction. And if you hear about other programs or other ideas that other cities are doing, we're all ears about that too. We don't know everything. We do participate on some regional Greater Sacramento Economic Council forums that we've been having COVID response meetings weekly with them and hearing what other cities are doing. And so we're trying to get best practices and make sure that we're, staying, right on the innovation edge, if you will. So yeah, Katie, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think you covered it. I think some businesses it would be helpful to communicate that we're, our mission in our department is not regulation, right? So businesses might have some trepidation sometimes about approaching local government agencies thinking that we're about regulation. Well, ours is one department that's really not. We're about advocacy. So we're there to try to help you get through thickets. One thing our city is really looking at right now is keeping all of our, for example, building permit reviews going and plan checks going, and people need special use permits and they need all kinds of entitlements. And so, that's an area that we also can really help advocate in, because sometimes with working remotely, there's hiccups in that. But we're there as an advocate. And I just think communicating that, and it could be that a business does not need something, and that'll spur us to think of a solution. So I agree with Diane, just let us know if there's ideas, or if you see a need out there that you think the city
We got a frozen Katie.
with, but the business owners, not approaching us.
So, and Andrew and other commissioners, again, speaking in my role as a chamber board member, shoot some support dreams videos, shoot some West Sac takeout videos, minute long, make sure you're in them, have your mask on, email them, just do it with your phone. Email it to Denise at the chamber. They can put titles and edits on it. But the great thing to do when you shoot these videos is think about businesses that are not just edible peddle, and think about the insurance agent and the mortgage broker and the home-based businesses. Make sure you ask the business owner what their business hours are and what their website are, what their phone number is, so that we can put those as titles in the bottom of the video. But the more people that we have shooting of the bigger variety of businesses, the more we are supporting our local businesses.
Good point.
Thank you for that comment.
Good point.
Yes, thank you so much for
Commissioner Keough.
answering. Thank you so much for answering all my questions. I'm done.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the commissioners? Well, thank you, Diane, again.
Wait, I see Daniel's hands up.
You did?
Yep. It kind of blends into the
Oh.
bookcase.
Yeah, and he's down at the bottom of my page. There you go. Now I see you. Commissioner Olson, please.
Thank you. This is a two-part question, and you answered part of it in the last question from Mr. Kehoe. How quickly are the expedited permits for restaurants that want to move out into a parking lot? How long does that take for them to get approved?
Well, it depends on what issues they have in terms of, ADA issues or ABC, beverage license approvals, things like that. So each one is somewhat unique, but we've gotten in place a very streamlined process, and we're relaxing our regulations greatly in order to make it as fast as possible.
But just
So
like,
I guess the answer, we don't know yet. We have the first one going through the process, and it's actually one in the public right away. So it's a little bit more involved than it would be if it was a private parking lot.
okay.
But we're a week into it now.
Okay, but say someplace like the Pheasant Club, which has their own parking lot, if they wanted to move dining outside, what is their timeline? If
It
they're,
would be very fast if they had permission from their landlord. Diane, do they have to pull any kind of permit? If they have
So
permission from
they
the
actually
landlord?
own their property, I believe.
And they have
an
a
outdoor
patio.
dining- Yeah, they have a patio, but if they, let's say they want to go in the parking lot, all they have to do is fill out that temporary dining application. They don't need anybody's permission because it's their parking lot. But we would review it and just make sure, for example, that they didn't block one of the accessible spaces, or they didn't, they were not requiring people to traverse the drive aisle to get to. So there's some safety things that we have to look at. But I mean, you're asking a very good question, is how long is this going to take? And we don't know yet because we're just so new into it. But I can tell you that that's one of the things that our department does is we are facilitators, we are expediters, we are asking the community development department, who has to review these things, to do it very quickly because restaurants are depending on it. So
Right. The second part of my question, which again, I said you did answer part of it to Mr. Kehoe, is with all these restaurants, you do have an expedited plan. Is there an outreach program to let them know? Because looking at the number of businesses that did not apply for the PPP loans or all of the other available federal aid, it seems like there may be a lot of people that don't understand that there's a lot of steps they can be taking to better themselves or protect themselves during this time.
So we've done, I think, 2 direct emails to our restaurant list using the constant contact, and we are going to do a 3rd one now. We've also called a lot of the restaurants. We have about between 80 and 100 different restaurants, brick and mortar restaurants in the city. So Elijah and I will be doing some more outreach to restaurants as well as gym and fitness centers and I guess salons now too. We'll be doing a separate email about taking their business outdoors and making sure that they know what they need to do in order to do that. Because you're right, it is going to be a determinant factor in whether they can survive the next closure, however long that may be. It might be a while.
To be on that constant contact email list, is that something they have to sign up for? Or
You
do
have to
guys
have their
create a
email address.
business application and then add them to it?
So everyone that has a business license and has an email address is in that list. But if you are a licensee and you did not give us your email and we didn't get it some other way, then you're not going to get that.
Thank you.
Anything else, Commissioner Olson?
No, that was my question.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, commissioners? Thank you. Thank you. And again, Diane, thank you. Katie, thank you for the information. Moving on to general administrative function. And I'm going to take that request for comments from commissioners. I have a comment. Mr. Ortega, thank you for joining us this evening. Are you here as regards the comments at the Planning Commission about a housing workshop?
Yes. So, sorry, I was on the call a little bit late. I was having some issues with my internet. But yes, I am. My name is Elijah Ortega. I'm the newest member of the Economic Development and Housing Department at the city. In regards to the next upcoming special meeting, which we have scheduled, I believe, in August for the 25th, I will just say that to give you all a heads up, we have kicked off our housing element update process. And this is something that we have to do as a city every 8 years. And it is requiring review from the State Department of Housing and Community Development. And so we've scheduled this special meeting on August 25th. And we've asked 3 members of the Planning Commission to join you all on the call. And this will be a workshop style Zoom meeting wherein we will be available to present to you kind of the initial thoughts and the initial strategies as we develop our policies and programs for the update to the housing element. And we will also have our housing element consultants on the call as well. So this will be a workshop style meeting. But like I said, we have asked a couple of the planning commissioners to join you all just because we're operating on a bit of a reduced timeline here. And I know that after speaking to the Planning Commission, as well as staff members in the planning department, we're hoping to get these series of Zoom workshops wrapped up with you all and the planning commissioners so that the Planning Commission is able to take a formal action before the end of the year. So like I said, it's a bit of a reduced timeline that we're operating on, of course, due to everything that's happened this year regarding the shutdown of City Hall. But that is what the next special meeting agenda is going to look like. It's going to be a workshop, and we will present to you all our thinking on this 6th round of our housing element update.
Okay, thank you very much. That's what I thought you would say. And tell the Planning Commission they're welcome to join us. We look forward to that discussion on the 25th. Still, comments from me, and one of them concerns the Planning Commission. Those of you who aren't aware, the Planning Commission approved short-term rentals in zones that were not previously allowed to have short-term rentals. That is Airbnb and VRBO type rentals. I made a comment personally. For those of you that don't know, I I live in the ironworks, and short-term rentals are not allowed in our CC&Rs, but they have existed and they have been troublesome. So my comment to the Planning Commission is we need a policy, and not just approval that they should be in housing zones, but a policy. For example, how many people do we really want UC Davis students to come to West Sacramento and rent a party house? So just a little aside there. Also, Ms. Jacobson mentioned Gateway Place Phase 2. And again, that's close to where I live, and I've made comments about that. And we'll probably make a comment at City Council for the funding. Just, and my issue again, and the issue with the Ironworks HOA is that parking is a problem with Gateway Place. And I just had conversation with the owner of the former truck maintenance facility. There are 20 to 30 cars parked in his property, and he's gonna put signage up and start towing cars. So again, I've made comment about that. My comment to you folks is the city parking lot, Diane, that you'll be familiar with if you move into the retail space, the parking lot across the Tower Gateway should be dedicated to the tenants at Gateway Place, both Phase 1 and Phase 2, because there isn't enough parking. And let's see, did I have one more comment? If I think about it. So moving on, does any other commissioners have any comments in general? Staff. Diane, Katie, do you have any updates, please?
I do. It's been a long time since we've been able to meet. So there's still a lot of work going on and projects that the commission may not be aware of. We are completing the public dock, the new public dock, the Etinesh dock in front of the Ziggurat building on the waterfront in the Washington district. It's probably about 75% complete, and it's pretty impressive, and it's really transformative of that waterfront. I mean, eventually when it's complete, expect to be done in August, and then we'll put the finishing touches on it in mid-September, including some joint city public art that will provide for docking of small boats and large boats for people to come on shore, enjoy our restaurants, and go to a ball game or to the barn, to visit friends, to be docked there for, it can be just a few hours or it can be days. And so we're pretty excited about that getting done. We're still in the process. We're going to have to put in place new ordinances and things like that, because our city hasn't operated a public dock before now. But it's pretty fun to take a walk on a nice summer evening and take a look at that. Also the intention of staff over time, we know that there's like a lot of ideas. We hope that we'll be able to partner with some private uses like agritourism, water taxis down to the Delta and things like that, that would also support economic development in our community. I already talked about the housing, the motels, the state funding and what we're doing with that. So the other thing I wanted to talk about a little bit is to let you know that at the last meeting, there was a request for a presentation on streetcar and the 2 new bridges. So Jason and the Transportation Division was scheduled to come and do that presentation tonight. However, in working with him, I wanted actually to have the council take a couple of actions on some of these projects. And so he needed to do more in terms of a staff report. So he is scheduled to come to the next meeting and do those presentations. But just to give you a quick update on those projects, the streetcar, as you know, is canceled. Staff is working, the two cities are working to try to replace that with a light rail service that will come across the bridge and down Tower Bridge Gateway. And so we've already gotten the application into the feds in time to preserve the 50 million that we had set aside for the streetcar and transition that funding. It can also be eligible for light rail. We have a key contract that needs to be issued in August and by Regional Trans for engineering, and there's some opposition from Sacramento. So if Sacramento is successful in pulling that, we may not have a light rail replacement for streetcar, in which case the city will have to look at what other projects it wants to think about for creating multimodal transit access across in between the cities. The car, tomorrow there's a car sharing, I'll stay on mobility. There's a car sharing service that we are approving. Staff is recommending approval of it tomorrow. And that operates in a sense just like jump bikes or jump scooters did. It's a pure sharing service where you know where the cars are, you jump in them, you drive them to where you want to go. And there's, it includes Sacramento and West Sacramento, including service into Oakland and the San Francisco airport, I believe. You just leave the car there, walk away, or you can bring the car back to your location. So we're doing that on a pilot basis. We're going to have the cars located in the Bridge District and Washington District and on West Cap. As you know, the jump removed all the bikes and the scooters, the e-bikes and the scooters. It subsequently went into bankruptcy, I believe, and sold, the parent company sold that to Lime. We're currently been working with Lime about who's interested in coming. At this point in time, Lime is mostly interested in the e-scooters and not the e-bikes, but both cities, are seeking to reestablish those micromobility amenities within both cities. And so I think there's quite a regional collaboration going on right now, including SACOG and the cities that had that service. And I think that Lime is requesting some kind of city contribution towards e-bikes if the cities want to bring them back. And so I expect that you'll see more on that and hear more about that when Jason comes and does his presentation. And those are the updates that I had for you tonight.
Okay, thank you. Well, we already have a calendar event scheduled now for August 25th. Is there anything else we should be aware of to put on our calendar?
Unfortunately, all congregation is we're not permitted to congregate. So yeah. We did have a bit, we had, for example, in September, there was supposed to be, well, over the summer and in September, there were quite a few events that the city had planned. And unfortunately, just have had to cancel everything except for Zoom commission meetings and Zoom council meetings. So there's nothing really on the calendar.
Okay, thank you very much for that update. And I do have one more item. Some of you have heard the term defund the police. I don't know if you're aware of what the city of West Sacramento has done here recently. They created a new division called Community Outreach and Support. The story is, and I told it before all of you joined, but I was out for a walk over by the river between Rayleigh Field, or I should say Sutter Park Field, and the river, and ran into the city manager on a Saturday morning. He was riding his bike with one hand and holding a cup of coffee, the mayor, in another hand. And we started talking about this whole policing issue. And anyhow, he put together what's called the MBK committee, my brother's keeper. we saw each other on Saturday. By Sunday afternoon, we had a Zoom call with a number of other citizens, including myself. And the police department essentially has taken open patrol positions and converted them to community outreach and support. Non-emergency police calls, for example. Another administrative position, another support position for the homeless outreach function. And of course, an administrator to administer this department. So it was a pleasure to be on the committee and to give my input and the outcome. And if you look at the city council video, I thought that the police chief, Chief Strange, gave a very convincing presentation about the effectiveness of this new division and the reorganization and using existing openings for a positive community policing outreach. So again, it's on the city council video if you want to see it, or talk to the city manager or the mayor. He was part of it also. So I just wanted to share that with you folks. So are there any other comments from the commissioners? With that said, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn the meeting.
And I'll
Thank-
second that.
Who
That was
second?
Peggy.
Peggy, thank you. Clerk, will you poll the commissioners, please?
Yes, Chairperson Price,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson White,
Yes.
Commissioner Bell,
Yes.
Commissioner DiCamillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Kehoe,
Yes.
Commissioner Matter,
Yes.
Commissioner Olson,
Yes.
and alternate Commissioner Reifman.
Yes.
Okay, thank you all. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Nice seeing everyone.
Yeah.